Hello, beautiful people. You already know what time it is. Welcome back into the NFL with AJL, episode 99. We're live on a Wednesday. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here tapped in with us on the show. And we are forever grateful for that. Appreciate y'all bearing with us from the reschedule yesterday and a little bit of a late start today. Just wanted to make sure we were prepared for the show, had a little bit of technical difficulty issues. So that's why we have no intro music today, but nonetheless, episode 99. Can't believe we're one episode short of episode 100. Will continue to go on. Of course, before we get started, y'all please make sure to like and share that stream wherever you may be watching. Subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell so you never miss a post. And that QR code in the corner of the screen will give you every bit of social media and podcast content at NFL with AJL. If you can't find us, you're simply not looking hard enough. Hope you guys have had another great few days, another great week or so since we've been on the podcast. March is quickly finishing out. We've got April coming up. We've got Easter. We've got spring here. So I hope the weather by you guys is great as well. Hope you've been blessed so far. And thank you again for taking your time to tune into the show. We got a packed one here on episode 99. NFL draft running back rankings. Going to be giving you my top 5. Russell Wilson is now a New York Giant. Stefon Diggs is now a New England Patriot. And then for the last segment, we will have every NFC South team's best first round draft choice for the 2025 NFL draft. So we've got a packed show again. Appreciate y'all jumping in. Go ahead and get in the chat, get in the comments, and we'll go ahead and jump right into the top as we got our top 5 NFL draft running backs. And of course, at number 1, we've got Ashton Jeanty. There's no question about that. 374 carries, which is insane. 2,600 yards, 29 touchdowns, ran a 4.42. So he actually is a burner in this draft, not only on the tape, but with the stats as well. 5'8", so he is a little short. 211 pounds though, so you know he's an absolute bruiser. We already know that he led the FBS, basically college football, in yards from scrimmage with a little over 2,700. Rush yards, of course, with 2,601. He was a unanimous All-American, Maxwell Award winner, which of course goes to the best running back in the country. The Doak Walker Award recipient and the runner-up, should have been the winner of the Heisman Trophy in 2024, earned Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year honors. And it's no surprise because we know, we've seen all year, we've heard the hype, and we know what kind of draft commandment he's getting in the running back of Ashton Jeanty. I mean, he can turn any routine play into a house call. He is an absolute burner. He can run anywhere in between the tackles or outside the tackles. You know, arm tackles and up high tackles in terms of defenders coming towards him, that's not going to work on him. He's going to shrug you right off and just keep on going. He's got insane jump cuts. The balance might be the best in the class, and it's just crazy because he'll literally bounce off defenders, bounce around defenders, and just keep on going to keep the play alive. You know, and he'll stiff arm, he'll run you over, lunge forward for any extra yards like most of these bigger running backs and, you know, these bell cow guys can be. But that's the beauty of Ashton Jeanty, is he's not just a bell cow back. He can be a burner and turn any routine play into a chunk play, into a touchdown, a house call. You know, if he gets the edge or if he gets a seam, like, you're not going to catch him because he will be running away from you. Just an insane elite athlete who will put it all on the line with every single carry. He's very patient with protection and vision as he starts to come out of the backfield, being patient behind his lineman, able to see the bigger lanes and the bigger holes as he gets through the O-line. And you just turn on his tape, and this guy's just constantly running away from everyone, breaking a tackle, scoring a touchdown. Such solid hands for a running back in terms of protection and also receiving when we're talking about protection, pass protection, you know, pass blocking for the quarterback. I do think he needs to be utilized more in the passing game at the NFL level if an offense sees fit for that. You know, in 2024, he had 23 catches for 138 yards and a touchdown. But in 2023, he actually had a really nice receiving campaign, 43 catches, 569 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So he's shown that when he's called upon in the passing game, again, if that's in the cards for an NFL team, he'll be able to do that for them. I didn't really see a whole lot of weaknesses on Ashton Jeanty's tape. I mean, yes, he is shorter at 5'8", 5'9", however you want to measure him, but this is RB1 in the class. Again, he can be a bruiser. He can be a burner. He'll catch the seam. He'll catch the edge. He's going to shrug off a tackle, and he's just going to run away from everybody in the NFL. At least that's what he did in college. At number 2, give me Dylan Sampson, the SEC running back out of Tennessee, 5'8", also 200 pounds, ran a 4.42. So a lot of similar measurables to Ashton Jeanty. 258 carries, 1,491 yards, and 22 touchdowns in his 2024 campaign. And he's not only a burner as well, like JT can be, but he can also be a big time bruiser, kind of similar to Ashton JT as well. I watched him a lot this year, being a Georgia fan, watching a lot of SEC football. Multiple times this year, Tennessee really put the offense on Dylan Sampson, directly on his shoulders, on his back, and he delivered every time in big games or clutch moments when he needed to. He actually has an 80% success rate on third and short attempts. I know y'all are going to flame me in the comments for that slip there, so y'all go right ahead. But Tennessee does not have the season that they just had, getting to the playoffs, obviously getting blown out by Ohio State, if they do not have Dylan Sampson at the running back position for them. Those up high tackles, those arm tackles are not going to work on him either. He'll run you over too. He'll stiff arm you as well. He can take the edge for a touchdown almost every time if you let him get free. He'll cut up the seam on you also. And just a very tough runner who's going to bounce off those tackles more times than not, spin around you, jump cut around you, drag defenders, drag defenders with him 4 extra yards. He's got 929 of his 1,491 rushing yards came after contact. I'll say that again. 929 of his 1,491 rushing yards in 2024 came after contact. So he's insanely hard to tackle. And if you get him past the first point of contact, like, he's going to take it for a big game. He's just going to explode through the line into the second level. Good patience behind the line of scrimmage and good vision as well to take it also through the second level. He does sometimes bounce outside a little too quickly on his runs instead of taking those guaranteed yards, in between the hashes, in between the tackles and the guards in the NFL. And he has shown a weakness kind of when defenders are yanking, raking at the ball, try to strip him, forcing a turnover. And he does have only 39 catches in his college career. So you do want to see him get more incorporated with the passing game. I think that's what makes an NFL running back really good, if not great in today's game, is if you can be like a Christian McCaffrey, be like a Alvin Kamara, be like a Devon Achane when he was healthy, be that receiving back, a Saquon Barkley, be that receiving back out of the backfield, provide that extra weapon, tree for your offense, or just flat out be a receiver and be able to burn people with your skill as well. At number 3, maybe the fastest and most elusive running back in this draft class. Now, the 40 time's not going to say it running a 4.43. Give me Travion Henderson out of Ohio State, 144 carries, 1,016 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's 5'10", 202 pounds. Now, this is impressive for him being able to have this type of skill set, having this type of numbers, because we know that he shared carries with Quinshawn Judkins, another great running back out of Ohio State that's going to be very favored after in this draft. And I think when you look at Travion Henderson, I see a lot of Devon Achane. I see a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs, just an absolute speed demon who can and will score from anywhere on the football field. Just elite level elusiveness. He'll speed around the edges of defenders and just absolutely blow past them. And again, he'll take the edge, he'll take the seam, and he'll go the absolute distance and take it to the house. And a lot like Ashton Janty, you turn on his tape, you just see him running away from everyone. And, when you really start to break it down against the other running backs in this draft class, I would argue that he is the most elusive and the fastest player in this draft, despite his 40 time being a 4.42, or a 4.43. Janty and Sampson ran 4.42s respectively. He's going to embarrass those arm tacklers and those lazy defenders as well. And he just always finds the most open lane and just bursts through it for a big gain, potentially a touchdown, a chunk play, of course. And we saw how he embarrassed Oregon in the college football playoffs. Just an absolute menace for them, for Oregon defensively, as Travion Henderson offensively was just tearing them up. I think he's got good patience behind the line also, very solid balance and vision. I think he maneuvers around his blockers pretty well when needed also, and he can be called upon as a receiver in the offense. I think he's got smooth adjustments with his hands, and even just some of those off-target, off-balance throws. As a running back is very impressive, because you would expect that out of a tight end, maybe a wide receiver, an actual priority pass catching position in the NFL. He's got 11.1 yards per reception in his career. Now, obviously, he has not been sought after like a receiving back. He doesn't have insane numbers like a Cam Skattebo, who is a very solid receiving back in this draft. But when you call upon him, he's going to deliver. Still sticking with Travion Henderson. He's a natural pass protector. He can stop blitzers dead in their tracks in the 1v1s. Now, his durability can be a little bit of a concern, actually a significant concern when you look at 2022 and 2023. He missed some chunks of the season with some injuries there. And even when he was called upon to have those lead back duties in the Big Ten, of course, where Ohio State is, that seemed to wear on him some. He does bounce outside a little too quickly on some of his runs when he's faced with some interior pressure on the line of scrimmage, rather than just trusting his tackles, his guards on the inside landmarks, in between the, excuse me, in between the, tackles there. At number 4, give me Cam Skattebo. I almost put Quinshon Judkins at number 4 over Cam Skattebo, but after I watched the tape back another time, I definitely thought Cam Skattebo was a better running back. An absolute bruiser in this class. Very solid build, 5'10", 219 pounds, a 4.62 40 time, 293 carries, 1,711 yards, 21 touchdowns. And when you look at his receiving numbers, 45 catches for 605 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's the most utilized, the best receiving back in this draft in terms of numbers when you take a look at it. And again, like I just said, he's a very physical running back. He's going to plow through defenders anytime he can, which is going to be more times than not. He's got insane balance to keep his plays going. He's going to brush off any type of high, any type of arm tackle or defender that comes his way, trying to tackle him up high or, trying to pull him down by the arms. I think he's got really good vision behind his blockers as well. He's patient enough to let his blocks develop before he actually accelerates and gets ahead of the line of scrimmage, gets into the secondary, gets to the linebacker level. He's a significant red zone threat as well due to his running style. He's going to keep the legs churning. He's going to lean forward. He's going to run with a good pad level. He's going to really bruise the defense and make you think twice about prioritizing for him and or trying to tackle him, whether it's at the line of scrimmage, the red zone, in the open field, because he can make plays at all levels. He can embarrass you at all 3 levels if he has to. Now, he's not insanely fast, but he can also, just like the other backs I've mentioned in here, take an edge, take a seam, take it to the house. He is a very elite cutter at the line of scrimmage to set up the bigger lanes as well. You'll see him kind of bounce off maybe a couple of linemen, get through a couple of tackles, and then just cut his way out of the line of scrimmage to really just be able to to take off on the defenders and on the defense, on the secondary level of the defensive unit, of course. Now, when you take a look at Skattebo, Ashton Jeanty, Dylan Sampson, they're the best in the class at just not getting jammed up at the line of scrimmage after the handoff and really looking to create after they have that initial contact at the line of scrimmage. Now, I'm not saying this will happen, but we watched him operate out of the Wildcat. We did watch him throw a pass or two in college, which was probably just a trick play, scheme over at Arizona State. But if NFL teams want to capitalize on this and potentially use it, I don't think they would shy away from the opportunity if Cam Skattebo is your running back. A very reliable short yardage back as well, a goal line back who's going to convert much more times than not. 78%, conversion rate on 3rd and short situations in 2024. And that's just from his natural leverage, his natural leg drive that he brings to the table. Now, his ball security is going to be a bit of a concern as well. 10 fumbles over the last 3 seasons. And it often comes from running too high, running too upright into contact, and just not the best technique at protecting the football. He's not going to be your most consistent pass protector. And he could possibly have workload concerns, just like Ashton Jeanty, having 370 plus carries in his Heisman runner-up season. 374 carries. Just wanted to make sure I was accurate there with Ashton Jeanty. You've got 521 carries for Cam Skattebo over the last 2 years at Arizona State. So you want to make sure that his durability, his workload consistency is going to be able to stay on the up and up as the time goes on for him in his NFL career. And then at number 5 for my top 5 NFL draft running backs for the 2025 class, give me the other Ohio State running back, Quinshon Judkins, 6 foot, 221 pounds, runs a 4.48, 194 catches for 1,016 yards and 14 touchdowns. And this guy actually came bursting onto the scene with Ole Miss, had the 2nd best rushing season by a freshman in SEC history, 1,567 rushing yards, only behind Herschel Walker's 1980 legendary debut We, of course, know what he did back in the day. And much like his teammate Travion Henderson, he can be called upon in the passing game. He can deliver. It's still impressive that him and Travion had over 1,000 yards rushing, had over 10 touchdowns each rushing, which is great because it shows that they can coexist with another running back in the backfield, maybe be that running back too if they have to, or take on those RB1 roles if it's asked of them, because we saw them do it at Ohio State. Even though he shared some carries with Travion Henderson, he still had over 5.5 yards per carry as well. Now, he seems to be a bit more of the between the tackles, tough, bruising type of running back. Of course, you see his height at 6 foot, his weight at 221. Probably the nastiest stiff arm in the draft. I mean, you watch the tape and just time and time again, he's not just stiff arming you, he is shoving the defender into the ground like shoulder pad first, helmet first. So it's not going to be fun trying to tackle him in the league. And he can really be that short yardage back as well, as we saw Ohio State use him in this role. He'll lower the shoulder, he'll absorb that contact, run you over. He's going to identify those cutback lanes and be able to adjust his path of rushing the ball as well without losing speed. He's got great vision. The ball security fundamentals are some of the best in the class, as he has just 3 fumbles and 800 plus touches in his college career running the football. Now, I think his top end speed really can improve, as he was chased down a good bit while breaking away on big plays. He's not a consistent pass protector. You'll catch him kind of dropping his head, lunging forward instead of properly blocking. And then also you can see his production slip a little noticeably, not a little noticeably. You can see his production slip noticeably against some better competition. And we saw that in 2024. He averaged under 4 yards per carry in the 5 Big Ten matchups that he had this year. So at number 5, give me Quidshot Junkins. At number 4, give me Cam Scattaboo. At number 3, give me Travion Henderson. At number 2, I'll take Dylan Sampson. And then at number 1, maybe the best player in the draft, without question, the best running back in his class. It is not even a slight debate, is going to be Ashton Jeanty at number 1. An honorable mention that definitely could have snuck in here, and I would argue that Devin Neal could be over Quidshot Junkins. It's going to be Devin Neal as well. Is he I just have his name, but I don't have his school. Kansas. I had a feeling it was Kansas, but I wanted to be sure. Devin Neal can be a burner. He can cut to the outside. A lot of those similarities that you see with Travion Henderson, but when I was watching the tape back through again, I just felt like Junkins or Scattaboo, who I had flip-flopped before, we came live on the show. I was watching the tape again, Junkins at 5, Scattaboo at 4. I felt like Devin Neal could have jumped in ahead of one of them, but I'll comfortably keep him here at number 6 / the honorable mention. But if you want to put him ahead of Junkins, I don't blame you. I just don't think he's better than the top 4 that I have here. Also, Caleb Johnson was pretty solid as well. Omarion Hampton. Omarion Hampton's tape didn't really jump too much to me. I wasn't a big fan of what I saw, and I'm not saying he's not a good back. He can break away from you as well, but I liked what I saw out of the other backs in his class. And then Damian Martinez, not a big-time game changer, not a big-time running back that I feel like is going to make a ton of plays, be extremely fundamentally sound for you like you'll need him to be in the NFL. He was still up here on my draft boards for these running backs, but I've got Damian Martinez at the bottom of this list. Technically, it would be number 9 if we were talking about it, all things considered here. So I want to hear from you guys. Get in the chat, get in the comments. Let me know what you thought just now of my top 5 NFL draft running backs for the 2025 class, giving you our NFL draft running back rankings. The Giants signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal worth $10.5 million guaranteed and up to $21 million in incentives. And this move was a shocker when I saw the notification come across my phone. I mean, straight up, you were wondering if Russell Wilson was going to stick it out with the Steelers. I really thought that was the only thing that could have happened. I didn't see him going to the Vikings because, everyone's pretty solid that J.J. McCarthy is going to be on there. Yes, the Giants was an option. I did think he was going to stay with the Steelers, though. I really did. But now we see the Giants was the option. Apparently, the Giants were looking into him last year, weren't able to snag him before he did go and become a Pittsburgh Steeler. And now you've got Russell Wilson in his 3rd year, 3rd straight year with a 3rd different team, going from 2 years in Denver to 1 year in Pittsburgh, now 1 year in New York, and you've got him on his 4th different team in 5th years. So this is a lot for Russell Wilson to embody as an NFL quarterback. But when you look at the Giants and how they were offensively last year, this makes so much sense for them. No, Russell Wilson's not that elite, game-changing MVP quarterback I believe that we saw 4 or 5 years ago in Seattle. I don't believe he's that anymore, especially with the offensive talent that you're going to have in New York, especially with, Brian Daboll as your coach, which I do think is a good coach. But the Giants were third worst in yards and second worst in points last season. I mean, they couldn't do anything. And when you talk about where they've been, at the quarterback position ever since Eli Manning left and, was no longer with the team in 2019, you've had Daniel Jones, a little bit of Colt McCoy, Mike Glennon, Jake Fromm, Davis Webb, Tommy DeVito, Tyrod Taylor, Drew Lock, with a bunch of Daniel Jones, of course, mixed in there as well, which Daniel Jones seems like they've been waiting forever to move on from him. And finally they did, is now Daniel Jones is a Colt. He was moved on from last season as Daniel Jones was a Viking. The Vikings picked up Daniel Jones in the middle of this season, if I'm not mistaken. And then now obviously he is an Indianapolis Colt. But this team needed just some sort of decent quarterback position. We heard about them possibly trading for Derek Carr. Obviously that's not the case. Aaron Rodgers was possibly in play with the Giants. Clearly, that's not the case anymore. But this shows you, with Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll having their jobs on the line for the 2025 NFL season, that they would rather take a chance on a proven veteran quarterback in Russell Wilson than go for Aaron Rodgers, then try to get Shedeur Sanders at number 3. Then try to get Cam Ward at number 3, maybe trading up to 2 or 1, which means a quarterback more than likely. Maybe this secures Travis Hunter at the number 3 position for the Giants. I'm not really sure. But they would have rather taken a flyer, a chance on a veteran, proven quarterback in Russell Wilson than go and get Aaron Rodgers. Or take Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward in this draft, which I don't think that Shedeur or Cam would have been a bad fit or a bad pick for the New York Giants, but it shows you they want stability. They want someone who is a winner. They want someone who is a leader, someone who has seen a decades plus of what this league has to offer. And you just weren't going to get that with a rookie this year. It's not feasible. They're a rookie for a reason. Now, when you look at the Steelers and how they just had Russell Wilson, and they were 23rd in yards and 16th in points with Russell Wilson playing 11 games of quarterback this season. I believe that Justin Fields should have kept the job. But of course, we see Russell Wilson. He was a little injured coming into the year. Then he got healthy. Then, he was able to take the job from Justin Fields, which again, I was not a fan of. But in only 11 games, he had 2,500 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 picks, 64% completion, 96 passer rating. If he had played all 17 games and been healthy for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he would have had 3,800 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and probably would have been a lot more comfortable in that Steelers offense. Maybe they would have retained him. I'm not sure. I think the Steelers are looking at a quarterback in this draft because right now you've got Mason Rudolph and who else is in the Steelers quarterback room? You got Mason Rudolph and you got Skylar Thompson. I was going to say Skylar Thompson, but for some reason that didn't feel right. I was thinking Duck Hodges, but we know Duck Hodges hasn't been there in some time as well. So, the Steelers are 100% going to be making a quarterback move in this NFL draft. Either that or they're bringing in Aaron Rodgers. It's one of the two, because I don't think you're rolling forward with Mason Rudolph and or Skylar Thompson as your quarterback room. Not when you have a DK Metcalf, a George Pickens. I hate that you just got rid of Najee Harris, but you've got some talent over there. In Pittsburgh, you still got that defense. You just brought in Darius Slay. So you need to bring in a quarterback to complete that roster or at least snuff it up as best as possible. Now, I think Russell Wilson will be a solid quarterback with the New York Giants. I don't think he'll look as good as he did with the Steelers, and I damn sure don't think he'll look as good as he did in his last season with Sean Payton. Y'all can say what y'all want. I think Russell Wilson and Sean Payton should have stayed together. Now, clearly, Sean Payton wanted to go to the draft, get Bo Nix. Russ was pushed out of there, but Sean Payton had Russell Wilson operating at a fairly high level compared to the season before. Now, no, it wasn't that MVP type Russ that we've come to know and love, that insane game changer Russell Wilson. But when you looked at the tape and you looked how they were playing in and out of games, I thought Russ did well, all things considered. Now, when you look at the Giants' perspective, you've got Tyrone Tracy, who's proven to be good. You've got Malik Neighbors, obviously. You have a defense that's got Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Paulson Adebo. You go and get Javon Holland in free agency, which you got Javon Holland, Paulson Adebo, and Dexter Lawrence. Or no. I'm thinking of DeMarcus Lawrence that just left the Cowboys, excuse me. You've still got Dexter Lawrence, who has been there for some time. Getting Paulson Adebo from the Saints, I think was very solid. I hated to see him go as a New Orleans Saint, but Paulson Adebo is a north and south guy. He can play well. He can have pass breakups and interceptions, but he can also be a penalty machine, and it felt like he was either a big play or pass interference for Paulson Adebo, but maybe he can get it right over in New York. You never really know. I think he can get it right. I really hope that he can get it right. No, I don't have Omari and Hampton. What's up, Ron? Appreciate you. Appreciate you jumping into the show. I don't have Omari and Hampton in my top running backs. Again, the tape just didn't really impress to me that much, man. I was looking at some of the strengths and weaknesses, and it just wasn't anything that I felt like warranted a top 5, even a top 6 running back position in this draft. Again, I've got Ashton Jeanty, Dylan Sampson, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, Cam Scatteraboo. Not in that exact order, just about in that order. I've got Devin Neal ahead of him. Now, Omari and Hampton, I would probably slightly put over Caleb Hunter, all things considered. Caleb Johnson, not Caleb Hunter. But yeah, I don't have Omari and Hampton, unfortunately, in my running back rankings. Most people have him at 2, or even some people put him at 1. I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. And that's the beauty of all of us being able to do this, having our own shows, having our own takes, is we all bring, different perspectives to the table. But getting back to the Giants here, the Giants have some players defensively that can be game changers and be difference makers for them. They've also got now offensively Russell Wilson, Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors. Let's see what they've still got. Jalen Hyatt, who I feel like is still willing to break out in the NFL. We know we haven't seen a whole lot of him. Has 58 total career targets for 435 total yards. 59 total targets, 31 catches, 435 total yards, and no touchdowns. So if Jalen Hyatt, who is an absolute burner, is able to really come out and make a difference as well, then I think that's somebody else that they can really count on also offensively. So I'm excited to see what Russell Wilson brings to the table. I think he will, all things considered, be a good upper level, good quarterback. I don't know if he'll get to elite just being in the Giants organization, being around those Giants players, understanding that he was previously in 3 better situations than he is now. And I could see the Giants coming out and winning, 7 to 8 games with Russell Wilson, possibly more, depending on what they do in the draft and how things play out as the season gets started. What games did you watch? He's incredible. The only running back to spin fall forward in the momentum. Would be curious exactly what games you watch and exactly what you saw in his game. I can't remember off the top of my head the games that I watched of Omari and Hampton, but here's the thing. I don't watch specific games to grade players. I just go back and look at their tape. And I don't exactly recall what teams were coming up on the tape and where he was playing. But in terms of his play style, I just wasn't sold on him being a top 5, top 6 running back. He's still a top 10 running back in this draft class. And when I say top 5, top 6, I mean running backs in this draft class. But I'll give you a couple of pointers of what I saw in his game. I thought his speed was great. I thought he had solid vision. I thought he was able to move outside of the tackles well. It seemed like he could have been a home run hitter. But again, I didn't favor his skill set over the other running backs that I had. And maybe I can even do more of a deep dive on why I don't have Omari and Hampton in the tops of my running back rankings. But I just don't, man. The tape wasn't that impressive to me. I thought Jeanty had better attributes. I thought Dylan Sampson, even Cam Scatteraboo, had better attributes. And I don't mean to if it feels like I'm going around your question, but I don't necessarily pay attention to the teams that he played, but rather just watching the tape for him as a play style and as a player to see how he performed in really all of his situations. So that's what I've got for you there on Omari and Hampton. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think about Russell Wilson signing with the New York Giants. I think it was a decent signing overall. Clearly, the Giants needed him. They need a better answer at quarterback. He'll be able to deliver the ball to Malik Neighbors more effectively. Clearly, he's got Jameis Winston in the locker room, so that'll be some really nice energy, some good, pre-game, post-game speech at the presser. We know what Jameis Winston has brought to the table, not only at the quarterback position, but how he's kind of become viral at the podium and for his pre-game speeches as well. The Patriots signed Stefon Diggs for 3 years, $69 million. And this was an interesting signing to me as well. But I got to come out and say, I kind of like what the Patriots are doing here in this NFL offseason and just what they've done as the offseason carries on through free agency. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in the draft because you get Milton Williams, you get Carlton Davis, you re-sign Harold Landry, you get Robert Spillane, you got help for Drake May with Matt Collins, and now Stefon Diggs. You hired Mike Vrabel, who was the most coveted head coach in the NFL in the NFL head coaching vacancy. You've still got Christian Gonzalez as well. This is going to be a solid team, very possibly, for 2025. We could see a bit of a resurgence like we saw with the Bengals, like we saw with the Texans, like we saw with the Commanders, because I believe they've got the right quarterback to help them do it. I'm not extremely high on Drake May, but they do have the right quarterback in their system and on the team to help them get there. Gotcha. I break down film all the time on my channel. Just wanted to know what your thoughts were on him. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate, the comment. I appreciate you tapping into the show. And I especially appreciate that you watch film as well. That's absolutely remarkable. I love watching film too. Now, I'm not someone who watches film breakdown of other people. It's just hard for me to keep up with it. I like to watch film myself, give my own breakdowns, give my own takes, because that's what, truly makes it the NFL with AJL. That's what makes it the podcast that you're listening to. But yes, I kind of like what the Patriots are doing here, and it's very possible that we see a resurgence of this team after the Tom Brady years, after the one, or two Mac Jones seasons, because they're making moves. They've got a quarterback. They've got a wide receiver. They just went and signed a boatload, and I mean a boatload of Mike Vrabel type signings with Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, Robert Spillane, of course. Christian Gonzalez already mimics that Mike Vrabel, style, energy, mantra that he brings to the table. And the Patriots absolutely needed this, because when you go and look at their depth chart, yeah, you have Kayshon Boutte, you've got Demario Douglas, you had Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, of course, Matt Collins, who they just brought in. But now you get Stefon Diggs. Now you have somebody to accompany a Hunter Henry, somebody to accompany an Austin Hooper, if they're still able to produce at the levels that they were previously. And the reason I mention that is because Mike Vrabel is able to get the best out of his players. I mean, that's just what he's always been very solid at. He gets the absolute best out of his NFL players, young, veterans, whatever the case is. Whatever the case is, he is able to get the absolute best out of them. And when you look at what the Patriots did offensively last year, they were second worst in yards and third worst in points. A lot like the Giants were horrible, bottom three in a lot of major offensive categories last year. Now you bring in a weapon, you bring in a veteran for Drake May. Stefon Diggs is 100% able to mentor, a Kayshon Boutte, a Demario Douglas, show the veteran leadership to a Matt Collins, to a Jalen Polk, to a Kendrick Bourne, however much time those guys might actually get. But you do have to wonder if the attitude of Stefon Diggs is going to hold up to not only the contract that you just paid him, but the expectations that you have of him coming into this year as well. Because we know what Stefon Diggs is capable of when he's healthy. He's a top 5, maybe a top 3 receiver in this league when he's firing on all cylinders. But we've seen some of the attitude issues between the last couple of teams. And we see him coming off of his first major injury in his career. He is slated to play week 1 after going down in week 8 of this season. He's going to be able to play in week 1 of the kickoff for the 2025 NFL season, but it won't be an actual full year, 365 days of recovery before he's out there in those tough physical Mike Vrabel schemes. So that can be some cause for concern, but it's a great pickup for the Patriots. I mean, they just keep doing what they need to do in free agency. I'm not necessarily a biggest fan of the landing spot for Stefon Diggs as a player, but he does have a promising quarterback in Drake May. He's got a great head coach in Mike Vrabel, which I know he's really going to appreciate. And this team hasn't been stagnant. They haven't been just sitting on the sidelines waiting for something to happen to them in free agency. No, they have been actually going after these players, as the ones that I just mentioned here, going after their coach and Mike Vrabel. I mean, quickly, as soon as they were able to hire him, he was brought on immediately. Gerard Mayo let go. Mike Vrabel comes in, a lot of money to spend in free agency. So Stefon Diggs, maybe I'll change my tune some, seeing how I just explained everything that I did. I didn't expect Diggs to land here, but we did expect the Patriots to go get somebody. Now, whether it was going to be T. Higgins, whether it was going to be maybe DK Metcalf when some of those trade rumors were heating up, we didn't really know. But now we do know that Stefon Diggs is a New England Patriot, and we'll wait and see what he's able to bring about in his time in New England. Let's get a sponsor break here real quick before we finish out the show. This is episode 99 of the NFL with AJL. I appreciate each and every one of you jumping into the show tonight, as you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here tapped in with me on the show. And of course, I'm forever grateful for that. Y'all please make sure to like and share that stream wherever you may be watching. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the bell so you never miss a post. That QR code in the corner of the screen is every bit of social media and podcast content. If you can't find me, you're simply not looking hard enough, I promise. At NFL with AJL on all social media and podcast platforms. I appreciate the love that you guys have been giving me on social, between Facebook, really Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. You can find us on X, formerly known as Twitter. And as always, we're sponsored by Buy and Sell with AJL for all your worldwide professional real estate needs. Whether you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, Buy and Sell with AJL is the team that you need to be working with in 2025 if you have real estate goals. You can get on their monthly newsletter and value emails. You can start attending their monthly real estate meetup that they host in South Atlanta of Georgia. And also, if you're interested about a certain property's home value, if it's your home, if it's a home you've been watching on the market, maybe for waiting for it to get to the right price before you make a move, DM them on social media. You can get on their monthly neighborhood nurture that will tell you the rough numbers of the days on market, how fast these houses are selling, what price these houses are selling for, and everything in between. And as always, we're sponsored, not even as always, because it is a newer sponsor to the show, sponsored by HyperX.com. Use code AJL at checkout for 15% off your next order. If you're looking to start up a podcast, whether it's with, getting a camera, getting a keyboard, getting a microphone, or you're looking to get some more gaming equipment, you can check out HyperX.com. I'll actually put it right here for you guys. Go head over to HyperX.com. Use code AJL for 15% at your checkout. I think HyperX makes great quality materials, good products, solid microphones, again, keyboard, mouse. It's a great place to start if you're looking for some reliable podcast equipment, some reliable gaming equipment. I appreciate HyperX for wanting to partner up with me, being a sponsor of the show. Again, use code AJL at checkout for 15% off of your order. These are the best first-round draft picks for every NFL team, NFC South edition. And what I mean by that is we're going to go over the Saints, Falcons, Bucks, and Panthers. Each of their first-round selections that they have, what are the positions that they should be looking into for their first-round pick? And off the top, we'll start with the New Orleans Saints. I think they should take a wide receiver. Now, I was originally saying defensive end, but when you look at the fact that we have Carl Granderson, we have Chase Young, we have Brian Bresee, we have Devon Godchild. Now, we do still need a difference maker off of the edge, but when you look at the wide receiver room, whether it's Jawan Johnson, potentially Taysom Hill, not worth the contract on Jawan, older coming off injury in Taysom, injury prone in Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed coming off of a season ending injury as well. I think the glaring need here for the New Orleans Saints is a wide receiver. And to me, that's going to be either Tetroa McMillan, who I really like as that big body 6'4" receiver, or Emeka Ibuka out of Ohio State, which I kind of like over T-Mac as the number one wide receiver in this draft. And I think he would look very solid with the Saints. Emeka Ibuka is an absolute burner. We saw T-Mac as a great big body receiver. I mean, you guys heard and watched and saw throughout the season what T-Mac and Emeka Ibuka were capable of. And when we just dropped our top 5 NFL wide receivers on the channel for you guys, you're even able to see further there the breakdown of those two and how they would be great for the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints at number 9 really do need to target a wide receiver. Again, I was leaning defensive end like a Jalen Walker, maybe Mykel Williams, Abdul Carter, James Pierce, kind of take your pick there because there's a lot of defensive line talent in this draft. But when you look at our defensive line versus our wide receiver room, it's very clear that the wide receivers have more of a glaring need than a defensive line. So give me Tetroa McMillan, give me Emeka Ibuka there at number 9. We have the Atlanta Falcons picking at number 15 in the 2025 NFL draft in the first round. And I think without question, they need to take a defensive end. We have seen the Atlanta Falcons over the last 5 years or so struggle with pressure rate, pressures in general, sacks on the quarterback. They were bottom 2 in both pressure rate and sacks on the quarterback this past year. And when we've seen them take Michael Penix over at Dallas Turner, when we've seen them take Bijan Robinson or Drake London or Kyle Pitts over other potential defensive players, I've downed them for it every single time because you have to be able to get after the quarterback. And we know the Falcons are good offensively, right? Like we've seen that since the Matt Ryan days and even a little after, but it's always been the defense that has led up the most for them. So go get a defensive end who can be a game changer for you. Go take a look at an Abdul Carter. If I don't think he'll fall to 15, maybe you get Mykel Williams. Maybe you get Jalen Walker. I think James Pierce, I don't know if he'll fall to 15 either. But again, take your pick at defensive end for the Atlanta Falcons drafting 15. I don't think it needs to be any other position besides defensive end because you've got your offense built. You've got Michael Penix. You've got Bijan Robinson. You've got Kyle Pitts. You've got Drake London. You've got, I'm trying to remember the other receiver that they had who was actually, Darnell Mooney, if he's going to be back, like you've got him in there. You've got Ray McLeod if he's going to come back also. You lose Grady Jarrett, which is tough. Yes, you still got, some other defensive players out there like a Caden Ellis. You've got some Dubbins of Jesse Bates. Go get that premier edge rusher. Go get that pass rusher that changes the game, that disrupts the entire flow of the offense, that helps back up your defense when the pass rush is on point. Give me the Falcons to take a defensive end at number 15. Up next, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafting at number 19, and I think that they need to go corner because when you take a look at what the Bucs have, let's flip back to the Falcons a little bit. Of course, they have Leonard Floyd. They bring in Divine Diablo, however you want to pronounce it there. They have David Onyemata, a Morgan Fox. They've got players defensively at multiple positions. At multiple positions, they have defensive players, but they need to be able to bring in a defensive end who can just change the game for him. It doesn't look like Justin Simmons is with the Falcons any longer. It looks like he is with the NFL as a free agent. So going on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here, picking in the first round at number 19, I think they need to take a corner. And in that corner, if Jahdae Barron, the Thorpe Award winner with Texas, that is who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should take at number 19. They need a corner. Jahdae Barron with the Texas Longhorns won the Jim Thorpe Award. And for those of you who don't know, the Jim Thorpe Award is the best award for college corners. That means that you were the best corner in college football. And Jahdae Barron took home that title. You look at his PFF grades, you look at his coverage grades. I mean, he was a very solid corner. When you go and look defensively at the depth chart, at the roster for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, yeah, you've got Zion McCollum at corner. You've got Tyke Smith at the nickelback position. You've got Jamel Dean. Yeah, you still have Antoine Winfield Jr. at the free safety position, who's a very solid pickup. Yeah, you go and get linebackers and Anthony Walker and Hassan Reddick. You got some talent on the defensive line. And that's where I saw some people saying that the Bucs should go as defensive line. I think it's corner, though, no question about it, because you can have Hassan Reddick, you can have Anthony Walker, even Levante David get after the quarterback if they need to. But you need somebody to be able to hold it down defensively at the cornerback position. Corner is one of the premier positions in this league. And if you're able to draft one, if you're able to get a second one on a contract, that's just going to be great. It's going to be really great because the Bucs were fourth worst last year in passing yards allowed per game. So that is going to be a reflection of their secondary. If they are able to go out and get a Jahdae Barron out of Texas, who was the best corner voted in college football, then so be it. I think it would be a very solid pickup for them because they have pieces all around the roster to be able to compete in the NFC South. And you go and get a lockdown corner like we've seen the Patriots do with Christian Gonzalez, like we've seen the Broncos do with Patrick Surtain. For the time that Marshawn Lattimore was with the Saints, we saw the Saints pick him up in the 2017 draft. So if you can go and get that lockdown corner, it would be great for Tampa. If not, maybe defensive line or defensive end, which again, Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams, Abdul Carter, James Pierce, like take your pick in this NFL draft. I do think Abdul Carter and James Pierce will be gone by number 19, but you never know. You never know. And then lastly here, the Carolina Panthers also, I think they should take a defensive end. I think they should take a defensive end in the 2025 NFL draft with their first round pick. Where is Carolina? Oh, at number 8. I knew they were right there. I was just like, where are they at? So Carolina picking at number 8, right before my New Orleans Saints. They had a 5-12 record. I think you have to take a chance and go get a defensive end as well. And I just mentioned all the names that are here. But when you look at their defensive room, Ashawn Robinson, Shy Tuttle, Derek Brown, some of the linebacking positions are okay. You've got Jadeveon Clowney, who has now moved to, strong side linebacker. Christian Roseboom, Josie Jewell. I mean, you have to be able to rush the passer at a high level. You have to be able to. Because if you're not, it's going to be too easy for other teams. It's going to be way too easy for other teams to run the offense on you. And I know that that's not something that the Panthers want because the Panthers were fourth worst in the league this year for sacks with just 32. So that's about 3 sacks a game, maybe about 1 sack a quarter, which in the grand scheme of things will work well in the NFL. But obviously defensive end is a need here for them, not only because of numbers, but because of what we saw on the tape for the Panthers for how they only won 5 games in 2024. I almost said 2025, but we're not there yet. We'll be starting that season in September. Can't come fast enough. The Panthers need to go and get a defensive end in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft. Now, they have more of a chance of an Abdul Carter or a James Pierce. I think one of those two guys could really be in play for them. And if either one of them are available, go and snag them. Go bring up your sack totals. Go bring up your pressure totals. Go make the rest of your defense just better for each other. Go make the rest of your defense have it easier on them because they have a defensive end who can change the game. Because if you have a defensive end who can change the game, then it's it's just going to make the game so much easier. So much easier. Now, if I'm looking at these stats correctly, it looks like the Panthers were up there for quarterback hurries. Maybe not so much for quarterback hits. Yeah, the Panthers were about the middle of the league in pressures. And then Oh, pressure percentage. They were actually towards the top of the league with 23.8%. Now, I might be looking at this incorrect. I might be looking at this incorrect. This might be for passing, like as a passer. Now let's see if that's right. Let's see. Pressures. No, I don't think that's right. I think that's being pressured for the quarterback. So scratch a little bit of that at the end that I just said. Sorry, I know that was a little sloppy here on episode 99, but wanted to make sure I had the correct facts for you guys. Should definitely be a little more prepared next time. But that was the best first round draft pick for every NFL team, NFC South edition. The Saints should go get a wide receiver, whether that's Tetroa McMillan or Emeka Ibuka. The Falcons need to draft a defensive end. I think Jalen Walker or Mykel Williams could really be there and play for them. I doubt Abdul Carter is there, but you could be looking at James Pierce maybe at number 15. The Bucks have to go get a corner. They were very bad for passing defense in the last season. Jahdae Barron, best corner out of Texas. Jim Thorpe Award winner. And then for the Panthers, go get a defensive end as well. You're at number 8. You might have a good claim at Abdul Carter or James Pierce, but Mykel Williams or Jalen Walker or the other defensive end talent in this draft could serve you well. I think Jalen Walker might be going down as a linebacker, but we see these linebackers nowadays. Like if they're able to rush the passer, they'll have you put your hand in the dirt. They'll have you go and get somebody at the quarterback position. We know that. We've seen that. We've watched these positions change year over year. That was episode 99 of the NFL with AJL. I appreciate everybody jumping into tonight's show on a Wednesday, a little bit off schedule, a little bit later than usual. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you were right here tapped in with me on the show. And for that, as always, I'm forever grateful. Before we get out of here, y'all, please make sure to like and share that stream wherever you may be watching. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the bell so you never miss a post. And that QR code on the corner of the screen will give you every bit of social media and podcast content at NFL with AJL. If you can't find us, you're simply not looking hard enough. Don't forget that we are sponsored by Buy and Sell with AJL for all your worldwide professional real estate needs and by HyperX. Head over to hyperx.com. Use code AJL for 15% off of your order. We will be back later this week with episode 100, a milestone episode of the NFL with AJL. More NFL draft talk, more NFL offseason and potential free agency news. Might be getting back into some college football here, even though really the college football talk has been split with the NFL as we are talking about the draft because we know those players are coming out of college football. I love you guys. I need you guys, and I will see y'all in episode 100.